Like and subscribe and click the bell icon to get new video updates.
Ukraine-Russia war live updates. White House says train station attack was another horrific atrocity by Russia. A spokesperson for U.S. President Joe Biden stopped short of calling the deaths of dozens of people a war crime, but says the U.S. will support efforts to investigate exactly what happened. Follow Saturday's events in our live blog. Key events live updates. South Australia to provide medical supplies to Ukraine. The South Australian government will send 5 pallets of medical supplies to war-torn Ukraine. Items to be donated include masks, first aid and wound dressings, as well as pulse oximeters, which are surplus stock across the state's public hospital network. SA Premier Peter Malinauskas says donating the medical supplies is one small way the state can help those injured in the war. He is also calling on the federal government to raise the refugee intake from Ukraine. Bodies pulled from rubble in Borodyanka as clean-up crews work through damage. Rescue workers in Borodyanka, northwest of Kyiv, were on Friday clearing out rubble from apartment buildings and structures destroyed by heavy Russian shelling. While some were clearing out debris using a bulldozer and a digger, others used their bare hands to pick through the rubble. My children were lying under the rubble. They just took my children out from under the rubble, cried 77-year-old Mera. Ukraine's prosecutor general on Thursday reported 26 bodies were found under 2 ruined buildings in the town. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky on Thursday warned that the situation in the town of Borodyanka is significantly more dreadful than in nearby Bucha. Ukrainian officials say Russia's military is regrouping after withdrawing eastwards from the zone around Kyiv, where a forensics team on Friday began exhuming a mass grave in the town of Bucha. Reporting by Reuters. Only Russia would have reason to target railway in Donbas, says expert. Experts refuted Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov's assertion that Russian forces do not use the type of missile that devastated Kramatorsk, killing at least 52 civilians, saying Russia has used it during the war. One analyst added that only Russia would have reason to target railway infrastructure in the Donbas. The Ukrainian military is desperately trying to reinforce units in the area, and the railway stations in that area in Ukrainian-held territory are critical for movement of equipment and people, said Justin Bronk, a research fellow at the Royal United Services Institute in London. Mr. Bronk pointed to other occasions when Russian authorities have tried to deflect blame by claiming their forces no longer use an older weapon to kind of muddy the waters and try and create doubt. He also suggested that Russia specifically chose the missile type because Ukraine also has it. A Western official, speaking on condition of anonymity to discuss intelligence, also said Russia's forces have used the missile, and that given the strike's location and impact, it was likely Russia's. Ukrainian villagers count dead after weeks confined in school basement. Helena Tolochina, a member of the village council, struggled to compose herself as she went through the list, scribbled in black on the plaster either side of a green door, in the gloomy warren where she said she and hundreds of others were confined. To the left of the door were scrawled the 7 names of people killed by Russian soldiers. To the right were the 10 names of people who died because of the harsh conditions in the basement, she said. This old man died first, Tolochina said, pointing at the name of Musica D. for Dmitro Musica, whose death was recorded on March 9. He died in the big room, in this one. Reporting by Reuters. Russian general who worked in Syria in charge of war offensive in Ukraine. Western officials say a Russian general with extensive experience in Syria has been put in charge of Moscow's operations in Ukraine. General Alexander Dvornikov has been given the job of improving coordination between Russia's forces. Officials expect new offensives in the south and the east of Ukraine sooner rather than later. International Monetary Fund establishes secure account for donations from member countries. The International Monetary Fund has confirmed an administered account for Ukraine, which will provide donors with a secure vehicle to direct financial assistance to Ukraine. In a statement, the account will channel donor resources through grants and loans aimed at assisting Ukraine to meet its balance of payments and budgetary needs and help stabilize its economy, the IMF says. The IMF says the move was requested by several member countries. Bodies still being discovered in Bushehr. Mayor Anatoly Fedoruk has said investigators found at least 3 sites of mass shootings of civilians and were still finding bodies in yards, parks and city squares. 90% of whom were shot. Russia has